If my boss had sent a normal text, I would have said no. Instead, at 5:37 p.m., as I was shutting down my computer, my phone buzzed with 4 words that sounded harmless. Need help with shelf. It came from Elena Voss, my boss, the woman who could make a whole floor of analysts go silent, just by walking past the glass wall of her corner office. She added one more line. I will owe you. I stared at the message. I was a senior analyst at Voss Capital, not a handyman. But everybody knew I built furniture on weekends in my tiny Chicago apartment. I sent photos of a walnut coffee table as my screensaver. That was my mistake. I typed back before I could overthink it. Address, she sent it. A townhome in Lincoln Park. Not the high-rise everyone assumed. A real street, a real place. Then she added, come now if you can. I told myself it was nothing. Just a boss who bought a shelf she could not mount into a stud. I did not think about the promotion review next month. I did not think about my mom in Ohio watching every dollar I sent home to cover her medical bills. I grabbed my jacket and went. The sky was gray and low. A light snow had started, the kind that made the city feel soft and quiet. I walked up the brownstone, steps with my toolbox in one hand, and an old knot in my stomach. Boundaries, I reminded myself. Help with a shelf, go home. The front door opened before I knocked. Elena stood there barefoot on dark wood floors, wearing black jeans and a soft cream sweater that looked too casual for the woman who usually lived in sharp suits. Her hair was down for once. No tight knot, no pins, just dark waves over her shoulders. Hey, Liam, she said, like we did this all the time. Where is the shelf, I asked. Her mouth curved in a quick smile that did not quite reach her eyes. Inside, she said. Come in. The smell hit me first, not dust or cardboard. Roasted chicken, butter, garlic, something with lemon. There were voices deeper in the house. A man, a woman, low and familiar. I stopped just past the entry, boots on the rug. You did not say you had company, I said. Her hand touched my arm, light, almost not there. I needed you to actually come, she said under her breath. If I told you the whole thing, you would have said no. The whole thing, I asked. Before she could answer, a woman's voice floated in from the dining room. Elena, honey, are you at the door? Your father wants to carve before it gets cold. Elena's fingers tightened on my sleeve for one brief second. Yes, Mom, she called, then to me, quieter. Please, just walk with me. Do not argue here. I could have turned around. I should have turned around. Instead, I let her lead me down the hall. The dining room looked like the kind of place where nothing bad was allowed to happen. I followed her into the dining room, my toolbox still hanging from my shoulder like proof I did not belong there. A long oak table filled the space, set with real plates, folded napkins, and candles that flickered instead of buzzing. It felt practiced, careful, like a scene that had been planned without me. 2 people sat at the far end. I recognized her father at once from the company reports. Daniel Voss, silver hair, broad shoulders, the kind of man who looked like he had never waited for permission in his life. The woman beside him had the same sharp cheekbones as Elena, softened by calm eyes and perfect lipstick. Her mother, Catherine. Both of them looked up at the same time. Mom, Dad, Elena said, her voice bright but tight. Thank you for waiting. I wanted you to meet someone from the firm. Her hand slid down my arm until her fingers caught mine. It was not an accident. It was a grip. This is Liam, she said. Then she added, clear enough for the crystal glasses to hear. He is my boyfriend. The word hit like a punch to the chest. My toolbox strap slipped lower on my shoulder. Her father's fork froze halfway to his mouth. You're what? He asked. My boyfriend, Elena repeated. She did not look at me. She kept her eyes on her parents, chin lifted like she was daring them to challenge her. Her mother's gaze moved over me slowly. Work boots, black jacket, hands rough from tools, not pens. I did not fit this table, and everyone knew it. How long have you been seeing each other? Catherine asked. Every warning bell in my head went off at once. HR policy. Power lines crossed. Careers burned down for less than this. But Elena's fingers tightened around mine, just enough for me to feel her pulse racing. Long enough for him to be here tonight, Elena said. I could have laughed. I could have pulled my hand away and said it was a mistake. Instead, I pulled out the chair beside her and sat down like I belonged there. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Voss, I said. Thank you for having me. Silence stretched across the table. Then Daniel set his fork down and studied me like a report he had not decided to approve yet. What do you do at the firm, Liam? He asked. Senior analyst, I said. Infrastructure side. He nodded once. Elena speaks well of you. That was news to me. Catherine poured wine into my glass without asking. Elena does not usually bring people from work home, she said. Especially not men. Elena's hand stayed wrapped in mine under the table. She did not let go. Catherine took her seat again, folding her napkin with care. We thought you would bring Marcus, she said lightly, but the name landed heavy. Elena's jaw tightened. She lifted her glass and took a slow sip. Marcus is a partner, she said. Liam is my boyfriend. The second time she said it, the word sounded less like a bluff and more like a line drawn in stone. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Where did you grow up? He asked me. Outside Dayton, I said. Ohio. And your parents? My dad drives trucks, I said. My mom is a nurse. Daniel's mouth twitched. First one in your family in finance, he said. Yes, sir. A big step, he said. It is, I agreed. Dinner moved forward, but it was not relaxed. Every question felt like a test wrapped in small talk. Did I like the city? How long had I been at the firm? What were my plans? Catherine's voice stayed polite, but her eyes measured everything. Elena did not let go of my hand. When she needed both hands to cut her chicken, she rested her knee against mine instead. To anyone watching, we looked comfortable. Inside, my thoughts raced. Marcus. I had seen him hovering near Elena's office for weeks, always smiling, always leaning too close. I remembered passing a glass hallway last Friday and catching one sharp sentence as I walked by. You know what your parents want. Now I was sitting at her parents' table, playing a role I had never agreed to. After dessert, Daniel leaned back again. So, Liam, he said, what would you say is your long-term plan with my daughter? The question sliced through the room. Elena went still beside me. I looked at Daniel, then at Elena. She finally met my eyes. There was fear there, tight and bright. And something else. A silent plea. Help me, it said without words. I took a breath. My plan, I said slowly, is to make sure Elena has options. Daniel's brows pulled together. Options for what? Before I could answer, Elena stood. Dad, she said, can I steal Liam for a second? She did not wait. She grabbed my hand and pulled me out of my chair, leading me down the hall. She pulled me into a small room off the kitchen and shut the door. It was a narrow pantry lined with dark shelves and jars of spices. The sounds of dishes and quiet voices carried through the wall. Elena braced her hands on the counter and breathed, like she had been holding it all night. I'm sorry, she said. I know I blindsided you. I know this is wrong. I just did not know who else to ask. I set my toolbox down carefully. What is going on, Elena? I asked. Why did you just tell your parents I am your boyfriend? She reached into the pocket of her sweater and pulled out a folded sheet of thick paper. She pressed it into my hand like it weighed too much. Because of this, she said. Read it later if you want. The short version is simple. She lifted her eyes to mine. They want me engaged to Marcus by the Winter Gala, she said. If I do not play along, I lose more than my job. How much more? I asked. My name, she said. My shares. The work I have built for 10 years. My future. The paper hummed in my hand. I felt the walls closing in, the rules screaming in my head. I could walk out. I should walk out. If you leave now, she said softly, I will not chase you. But if you stay even for tonight, I need you to be exactly what I told them you are. My boyfriend, she finished. I looked at her. Not my boss, not the woman behind glass walls. A person cornered by her own life. Okay, I said. Her eyes widened. Liam, you do not have to. I know, I said. I am choosing it. Some of the panic drained from her shoulders. She nodded once. Thank you, she whispered. One thing, I said. Do you want this fight or are you just stalling? She swallowed. I want out, she said. I do not want Marcus. I just did not know how to say no without losing everything. That is enough, I said. Then we make it look real tonight. She let out a shaky breath. You sure you can act? I stepped closer in the tight space. I am not acting, I said. I am just treating you the way you should have been treated. We walked back into the dining room hand in hand. Catherine noticed our fingers first. Then she lifted her eyes to my face with a sharper kind of focus, like she had just moved me from guest to concern. Daniel poured more coffee. Everything all right? He asked. Yes, Elena said quickly. Liam was just telling me about his plans for us. I pulled out her chair and waited until she sat. Then I took my place beside her and rested my arm along the back of her chair, close but not owning. A quiet claim without force. I was saying, I said, looking at Daniel, that I'm not rushing Elena into anything. She has enough pressure already. She does not need it from me. Catherine lifted one thin eyebrow. So you are serious, she said. This is not an office flirtation. No, ma'am, I said. I care about your daughter. I want her to feel safe. Elena's hand slid onto my knee under the table. Not gripping. Just there, anchoring. Daniel studied us both. You know what this family has built, he said. You know what it takes to protect it. I see the numbers, I said. I also see the people staying late to carry them. Elena carries more than most. His eyes narrowed slightly. And what do you carry? He asked. My work, I said. My family, my name. Catherine smoothed her napkin. We will not discuss business at the table, she said. Not tonight. She stood. Elena, help me with dessert. Elena squeezed my knee once before standing. The two of them disappeared into the kitchen, voices low and unreadable. That left Daniel and me alone. He leaned back and folded his hands. You understand this will not end at dinner, he said. I figured, I replied. If you hurt her, he said calmly, I will end your career in this city. If I hurt her, I said, I will leave on my own. But I am not the one pushing her toward a man she does not want. His jaw tightened. You think Marcus is a bad choice? I think Marcus likes power more than people, I said. That landed harder than I expected. When Elena returned, the rest of the night passed in polite noise. But something had shifted. A line had been drawn and everyone felt it. When dinner finally ended, Elena walked me to the front hall. The house felt heavier now, like it had absorbed every word that had not been said. I am sorry, she said again, keeping her voice low. They were not supposed to push that hard. What did you expect? I asked. They test things. She gave a tired smile. You did more than survive, she said. You pushed back. That part came free, I said. She glanced toward the stairs, then back at me. About the shelf, she said, almost shy. I did actually need help with that. I blinked, then laughed once under my breath. You lured me into this with a shelf? I warned you, she said. I said I would owe you. She led me upstairs to a small room that was half office, half library. Boxes sat against one wall. A bare space waited for shelves that had never gone up. While I worked, she leaned in the doorway and watched. Her shoulders slowly dropped, the tension easing inch by inch. You do this on weekends, she said. Build things. Yeah, I said. Would make sense. It listens. She smiled at that. You do not flinch, she said suddenly. At what? At my father, at Marcus. At all of this. I drove in the last screw and stepped back. I flinch in private, I said. Not where people can use it. She stepped closer, running her fingers along the finished shelf. Thank you, she said softly. I left a few minutes later. Snow had fallen thicker, muting the city. In my car, under the streetlight, I unfolded the paper she had pressed into my hand. It was not a note. It was a memo, legal language, clean and cold, a clause buried near the bottom. If Elena did not agree to a public engagement by the winter gala, her voting rights transferred temporarily to a trust managed by her father and Marcus. It was a threat dressed as policy. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. We should talk about boundaries. Marcus. I stared at the screen, then locked my phone and started the engine. I already knew this was not over. I did not sleep much that night. The memo stayed bright in my mind, every line cutting deeper the more I read it. By morning, my choice felt solid, even if the ground under it did not. At the office, Marcus found me before my second coffee. He closed my door, smiled like this was friendly, and told me to walk away. He talked about risk, about optics, about how easy it would be for someone like me to disappear. I listened until he finished, then told him I had seen the clause. His smile cracked for half a second. That was enough. I spent the day doing what I knew how to do best. I looked at numbers. I followed patterns. I pulled documents. I was allowed to see and laid them side by side until the story showed itself. By the time Elena asked me to meet her after work, I had more than fear in my hands. I had facts. The winter gala was bright and loud and full of people pretending nothing was wrong. Elena came down the stairs in a green dress that made the room go quiet for a beat. She took my hand without hesitation. Across the room, Marcus watched us like we had stolen something from him. When it was time, we did not hide. We stepped into a small lounge with her parents and put everything on the table. The dates, the clauses, the pressure. The lies dressed as strategy. Marcus tried to laugh it off. He failed. For the first time, Elena's mother stood between her, daughter, and the plan that had been built around her. Her father listened, really listened, and when he spoke, it was not to protect a deal. It was to stop a mistake. Marcus left with compliance. The gala continued without him. Later, by a tall window dusted with snow, Elena turned to me. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Not once," I said. She smiled, small and real, and stopped calling me her fake boyfriend. When she kissed me, it was quiet and honest, the kind of kiss that chose tomorrow. Weeks later, things settled. The firm changed. Elena stood taller. I kept my job and earned something better than a title. My boss did trick me into dinner at her place, but staying was my choice, and choosing her was the easiest decision I ever made.